They were gracious enough to agree to let me go last because I've been here since the morning, and the quality and the intensity, the technological domain level intensity of all the talks were at a very high level. நான் கொஞ்சம் கதை சொல்ல வந்திருக்கேன், and I didn't want to kind of upset the flow, and I need to thank you both for that. This is the topic that I wanted to share with you all. Indri Amaya, actually Indru Amaya, it's not even valid and worth today. Forget about future skills. So let me start with this little thing I found in my grandma's home. A tall shelf. At the top level of the shelf, there was a box, dusty box, and it contained some letters. Grandma said, "Don't touch, they are grandpa's letters." Grandpa is long gone, but these were grandpa's letters. And being the little kid that I was, curious, mischievous, I asked no permission. I found out that grandma was sleeping, and I took all those boxes out and started reading. I couldn't make out the handwriting. Grandpa, what language was this in? He knew English, Shakespearean English, but I couldn't make sense out of it. I realized he had written some love letter to his long-lost girlfriend, and I wanted to decode it. But only later, after I took a photograph of it and researched as a little kid, I learned that this is called Greg's shorthand. This was amazing as a tool, as a necessary Indriyamayada tool, technique for people who wanted to speak and not repeat themselves. This stenographer or secretary would take notes and reproduce it in an expand format with not a single mistake. But an amazing technology for a time gone by. It is not relevant today in the time of ChatGPT, in the time of speech to text, in the time of generative co-pilot creating my response as if it was me who was writing. This was silly, this was useless. You may wonder, why am I showing this to you? Nobody does shorthand these days. But wait, time 45 minutes, marks 100. This is an exam, and this is a question paper. This is not a paper with questions. All the answers are there. You don't need to do any mathematics. You don't need to do anything at all. All you need to do is type it out in proper format. There are some mistakes, there are some signatures. You will have to imbibe all those corrections and put it up in a paper. Typewriting test. Ready for the timeline? When did this exam happen? February 2023. 6 months after ChatGPT had come and turned the world upside down, we had the guts, we had the idiocy to conduct exams like this. Think about that. This was the world we prepared ourselves for. This man, the merchant, he was the customer relationship executive. He was the stockkeeper. He was the evangelist. He was the competition analyst. He was also the bookkeeper, the predictive analysis that people talked about. He was the analyzer. He was everything else. He was even the mentalist, because many things he would actually remember. He wouldn't even bother taking notes. All of our techniques and tools and syllabi and curriculum seem to be tuned towards helping this guy run his business better, a little better. But today's world has moved into this, a world where people manage people across continents, across time zones, across generational gaps. That's the biggest gap. It's not the time zone gap and the geography gap, it is the generation gap that's the biggest one. This guy is doing 3 jobs. We think he is doing one. He is doing 3 jobs. One Uber, one violin in the evening, a gig, and he also works in this company. Are we preparing our students our future employees and employers for the right skills. I read this book so that you needn't read it. The book is called Forever Skills. Alaga infinity potrukanga. Forever. These will be important. These will be needed. Abdina 12 skills he has given us. That lady Kieran Flanagan and this guy Dan Gregory, they are researchers from Australia. And this book is about 12 skills to future-proof yourself, your team, and your kids. So basically self-improvement, life improvement, team improvement. Let's quickly run through the 12. That's Jeff Bezos. He talks about change often. In fact, in one of his interviews, he was asked, everything is changing so fast, so much, how do we keep track? And this man, having heard that question 20 times already, he says, I stopped bothering about what is changing. I will ask you, what are the 3 things that will not change with respect to Amazon? With respect to Amazon, will you ever say, Enna sir, ivlo kammiya irukku vela, konja jaasti veinga sir? We will never do that. We will always want lower cost. So that won't change. Will we ever say, enna rende option da irukku? I mean, enna 25 option irukku? Option kammi pannunga sir. We will never do that. So I will always focus for more options. And will we ever say, I ordered something, you brought it today itself. Why are you bringing it so fast? So low, ma. We won't. So I will focus on faster delivery. Faster delivery, greater number of options, lower cost. That won't change, and that will be my focus. So the 3 spheres of change are, we need to keep an eye on what is changing. We also need to keep an eye on what needs changing and what is unchanging. And the what's unchanging da ipo nama paak porom. And I told you, you don't need to read that book, because I am going to tell you that those 12 categories, the 12 forever skills, are divided into 3 categories. The first is creativity, thinking out of the box. The one thing probably we still haven't been completely run over by AI. It's coming, but not yet. The second is about communication, the art of persuasion, the art of getting a message across, the art of convincing somebody, persuading somebody. That is still a forever skill category. And the third one is understanding what is in our control, what is not in our control, understanding to live with things that is not in our control, compromise, adjust, manage. This is the book I am going to base my talk on. Ellarum padichirkom. Aesop's Kuttik Kadaigal. And my theory has always been, little children know everything that's needed to be known. We forget it along the way. We need to be forced to relearn them. All that we need to know to live a good life, a meaningful life with grand purpose, by the age of 10, we have been told by our parents, by our teachers, by our amazing storytellers. So I am going to use this to drive home those 12 little important forever skills. We start with creativity. Remember this story? Insight is the first important forever skill that the authors talk about. You look around you, there is a lot of data coming. You end up analyzing them. Instead, you need to try to look for patterns, look for understanding them. That is the more important skill here. Also, vary the viewpoint. It is not necessary for your head to go down to the water level. The water level can be brought up to your head level. That's a viewpoint variation. Very few of us ever, it doesn't think out of the box in cholranga. Very often we get submerged in data. Instead, remove all the unnecessary data, clean it up, look for patterns, and wait for that insight to bubble up. They call it sense making. 100 years ago, no data was the problem. Today, knowing about data is the problem, because we are surrounded by so much of it. We don't know which is relevant, which is not relevant. The second important forever skill in creativity is conversion. They call it conversion. இந்த கதை ஞாபகம் இருக்கு இல்லையா? காக்கா, வடை, பாட்டு பாடு. It starts with being innately, uncontrollably curious. Curious about everything. Why? Ask why. Why not? Ask those questions. We saw that in the previous presentation about a child asking questions. 40,000 questions was the number we heard. Unbelievable. So being eternally curious is what is driving the fox to a shortcut about getting the donut or vadai. Rather than stealing it himself, he tries to steal it from the person who has stolen it. Isn't that interesting? Collision is a kind of technical term for coming together of unconnected domains. This is going to be extremely important. I have been in touch with some of the college folks here, and one thing that has impressed me is the joint or dual or interdepartmental courses that they are offering. Steve Jobs has often talked about coming together of technology and the liberal arts. That is why the Macintosh is so beautiful to look at. The iPhone is such a lifestyle piece. So this collision, I also call it horizontal learning. It is not enough to be an extreme specialist. You need to have the ability to remix. Here, what is the remix happening? The fox looks at the crow. The crow has a mouth. There is a donut in the mouth. But wait, isn't the mouth used for not just eating? It is used for singing too. That is a leap. I am able to understand what is in front of me and say, this is not just for this, it could be used for that also. How are you going to teach that skill? Because that is going to be extremely important in the coming decades. The third is problem solving. Eternally important. I don't even need to tell you how important it is. This story is about a guy who takes a lot of salt, overloads the donkey, and the donkey finds out a way. If I stumble and fall, act as if I'm stumbling and fall, right in the middle of the little river I have to cross anyway, the salt will dissolve and my load will reduce, and the master will be unhappy, but I will go home happier. This man observes it. There are two people solving the problem here. Bales of cotton. And so when the donkey stumbles again, the cotton doesn't dissolve, instead absorbs a lot more water. I am not talking about loving solutions. You need to love problems. Have a love affair with a problem. விதவிதமான கோணங்களிலிருந்து approach it from different. See, that is the reason why mosquitoes still bother us. We seem to have loved the solution. We all settle for tortoise kosuvarthi churul or odomos, but the mosquitoes are smarter. So we need to love the problem and not settle at something halfway. That's what the donkey did. You need to think in questions. Do not think in explanations, determinations, and exclamations. You have to say, what if? Yes, fine, but is it the best? Design the thinking. In the morning we were listening. So can you look and go for the next? Always aspire. You have to keep trying many options. One of my friends, he learns programming online. He says, all of you must know Hacker Rank, Hacker Earth, Code Wars, Code Chef, and all that. He says, the greatest benefit I derive from cracking those problems online is not when I face the problem and I solve the problem, I solve it, and then that problem responds saying 100% correct. No, that's not when I learn. I learn the most when I am allowed to see the wrong and the right attempts of the other hundreds of people who have attempted that problem. Do we do that in colleges? Why don't you consider open sourcing the answer sheets of all students? Okay, probably remove the name, But consider open sourcing the answer sheets of all the students. There is so much learning hidden there. There are so many problem-solving approaches hidden there. Think about that. And the fourth creative habit is agility. The ability not only to switch domains, but switch it quickly. You might have heard of this story in another form. It is a crocodile. And the crocodile takes this monkey for lunch with his wife. Wife wants to eat the monkey. But the crocodile says, come, I want to serve you lunch. The crocodile actually says, I want to have you for lunch. But idiot monkey doesn't understand English. Have you for lunch na lunch கூப்பிடுறாங்க போல இருக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு the monkey jumps on. But halfway the shark exposes the story, I'm going to eat you, you are an idiot monkey. And that's when the monkey is able to, in a very agile manner, think up a story, tells a story and says, ஐயோ நீ சொல்லிருக்கலாமே, I just removed my heart, I hung it up for drying in the tree, that's the juiciest part of my body, wait, just turn back, ஒரு U-turn அடி, was the way that story went. So that's agile. You need to have firm convictions. If you want to live a good life, yes, you need to have firm convictions about the life you will live, about the lies you will say, about what you won't do even if you are held at gunpoint. Values, you need to have those. But that's not enough. You need to have firm convictions, but you need to be able to hold them loosely. Yes, hold on. See, many people, we are not able to climb a ladder because to climb a ladder, you need to hold on and release this other hand. If you say, I won't release, you cannot move up. That's very important. So, have firm convictions, but hold them loosely. You need to be able to leap creatively. We move to the second set, which is the art of communication. Very important. The first skill in communication is influence. All of us have heard probably dozens of stories featuring lion or tiger and a fox. We have seen foxes and lions in zoos or in Discovery Channel. Why haven't we ever asked the question, fox damma thondu irukku, why can't the lion give a slap and send it forever spinning? How often has the fox led a lion to a trap? எத்தனை கதைகள் படிச்சிருக்கோம். And how often in any kingdom in the jungle, the lion is the king, but the fox will be the minister, advisor. Why? Isn't that proof enough that you don't need strength in the body if you have cleverness? I don't want to use the word cunningness, but cleverness in your mind. Starting with why. There is even a book about it. When you want to convey something, get something done, there is one way, please do this. There is another way which is called micromanagement. Do it like this, using this tool, don't do that, I will watch over you. That's micromanagement. But when you start with why, Kanna, this is what I need. This is how I would have done it. This is what I need done by this time because this is why I am going to do it. Can you help me? Can you take care of it? When you do that, when you start with why, your influence will be 1,000 times more because that person usually will come up with a smarter solution than you. Because that's the pace of technology, the pace of learning. They know much more than us. All they need is permission. We are not giving them that permission. Have a story. Rather than fill them with data, have a story. Show charts. Tell them an arc. Make them the hero. That is when you will be able to introduce a value system. Share an idea, share a value, not instructions. They will come up with better instructions. Do we do that? Do we have storytelling sessions at school, at college? I think we stopped doing that by class 6, class 7. The art of storytelling is going to be a forever skill because influence is going to be an important ability every one of our graduates need. It's the icing on the cake. வெறும் கேக் யாராவது சாப்பிடுவோமா? கேக் தான் நிறைய. 90% of the cake is வெறும் கேக். but it's the icing that's 80% of the cost of the cake. There is a lesson for us right there. This story, unusual story, where all the oxen are together, the fox goes and disturbs them, creates politics, and the oxen separates. The lion, who was not able to kill all those buffaloes because they are together, now they are all separate. The lion starts killing them one by one. Abdin padichirkom. But only in Africa, interestingly, there is a different version of the same story. In Africa, they start as separate animals. They are being killed one by one. These animals come together and say, hey, your horns are sharp. Hey, your feet are fast. Hey, your eyesight is amazing. Why not we come together as a single animal? An ability to run fast while look far and also have sharp. Can we come together as a team? Adukapram, the lion is not able to come near them at all. So that is creating a culture. If you create that culture, that is the foundation on top of which people, technology, processes, partners, employees, customers, all of them will come on top of it. The foundation has to be, what do you stand for? What is your why? Why do you even exist? Why should we come to you rather than go to a competitor? Why should we remain with you? Because that competitor is offering me lesser, faster. Why should I still stay with you? That is culture. What is your organization's culture? What do you even stand for? Do you wait to ask that question? That is important. We'll have to break down silos of information between teams, between individuals in teams. Have democratic sharing of information and data, and like we saw in the story of the animals, have diverse skills. Look at the 5 fingers. Kaadu kodayarthukku oru finger. Illaya? Thumb is for Facebook la use pandradhukku. Illaya? Ovvannum aalkaatti viralnu onnu. Are they similar? Not at all. Evolution is teaching us that story. Learn from it. The next important lesson in influence is trust. You cannot create influence if you can't even create trust. You have to foster trust. Trust வளர்வதற்கு ஒரு environment கொடுத்தா தானா முளைச்சு வர chance இருக்கு. That is trust. Trust is not something from tomorrow we will trust everybody. No. Trust you have to wait. ஆயிரங்காலத்து பயிரது. You need to create the environment and wait for it. You need to walk the talk. You need to tell the truth. And telling the truth is not telling when you are strong. The right way to tell the truth is, telling the truth should make you vulnerable. I didn't, for example, time my speech today, and that's making me vulnerable, and I'm telling them the truth. Will they trust me to finish the talk? I don't know. But that is the trust you need to create, and you need to walk the talk. You can't say, live a simple life and land in a Volvo or a Jaguar. Over little thing that you do, because social media is creating a magnifying glass and pointing it at you all the time. There is no work-life separation. There is a balance perhaps, but there is no separation. You are what you are, and your online personality, your dress, your way, the way you work with people, it's all the time under scrutiny. So when we teach soft skills, what do we really teach? Do we teach how to foster culture? Do we teach them how to tell the truth even if it makes them vulnerable? Translation is this famous story about 6 blind men thinking that the elephant is a rope, while the elephant is a pillar, the elephant is a muram, the elephant is a wall, because that's the maximum that they see because they are blind, unfortunately. So you need to simplify. When the CEO gives you information, you can't just translate. You have to de-jargonize. You also need to educate. இதான்ப்பா அவங்க சொன்ன விஷயம், நீங்கள்லாம் இதை வாங்கிக்கோங்க. Many managers do that. Many heads of organizations do that. They think, I think it was Sendil who did that in Boys movie. Knowledge is wealth அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவார் ஒரு படத்துல. அந்த இதை நம்ம நினச்சிக்கிட்டு they think if I hoard information and hold it from them, they need to depend on me. And they think just being a conduit of information is enough to retain their seat. Not at all so. Your job is not to distribute. Your job is to de-jargonize. It is to educate. அவர் ஒரு why mission statement கொடுத்துட்டு போயிடுவார். அந்த mission statement-ஐ மாவா அரைச்சு அது கொஞ்சம் தாளிச்சு கொட்டி, you have to create a dish, you have to tell a story and distribute it downwards in your organization. The person who joined your college 2 weeks ago, do they understand the vision of the educational institution like the founder of the educational institution understands it? That is the job of our teachers here. Think about it for a moment. Make it AAA. இந்த மிஷன் விஷன்லாம் சொல்லிடலாம், ஆனால் அதுக்கப்புறம் அக்சசிபிளா இருக்கணும், பாமர மனிதனுக்கும் புரியற மாதிரி இருக்கணும். அது மட்டும் இல்லாம அச்சீவபிளா இருக்கணும். கதையெல்லாம் சொல்லிட்டியே, பட் is it achievable to me? Can I do that? You are a hero, you did it. Can I do that? And it should be actionable. அதெல்லாம் நல்லா இருக்கு, but what do I do starting tomorrow? What is that atomic step that I need to take? அப்படின்னு கொடுக்கணும் is the last bit. Finally we come to control. In this story, the Seval up there has actually won a fight. But moments later, it has climbed the top of the hut and is screaming its victory. And what happens? A few seconds later, the eagle, which ignores the lost Seval, tops off this Seval. The winner is the loser here. So control அப்படின்னு சொல்லும்போது, you need to be self-aware. What am I? Where am I? Who are the people who like me? Who are the people who are waiting for me to slip and fall? That self-awareness you can't ever lose. You need to learn about emotions. Don't be emotional அப்படிம்பாங்க. No. அது முதல்ல impossible. We have to have emotion. But understand who you are and understand that emotions are layers that are forming on you. Emotions are giving you a message. They are telling you, hey, you're going through this. Hey, you are happy, but wait. Hey, you're unhappy, but it's okay. அப்படிங்கிறத you need to be able to have that out of body experience. This guy didn't do it. It thought it was the strongest cock in the whole world, and it made the mistake. So ability to understand, are they controllable? Are they within my grasp? You need to have that ability to discern. Managing resources, இது வந்து Musicians of Bremen அப்படின்னு ஒரு ஜெர்மன் ஸ்டோரி. Some of you might have read it. வீட்டிலிருந்து துரத்தி அடிக்கப்பட்ட கழுதை, வயதாகி போன நாய், கண் குருடான பூனை, சேவல், வயதாகி போன சேவல். All these have been kicked out of their houses, but they come together in the streets of a village called Bremen in Germany, and they create a musical orchestra. That's almost magical. And not only that, they even drive away thieves in a house and they get celebrated for that. The message I am trying to get across is this: 1 + 1 can be 11. It need not be always 2. People can come together. Simple people, ordinary people, people who think they are worthless, but when placed in the right organization, given the right amount of freedom and the responsibility to take ownership of things, they can do magic. That's what we see from this story. And timing matters. Right place at the right time. So you need to have or probably develop that innate sense of timing. When is it the right opportunity to have the exceptional influence you're talking about? Things will go wrong. Situation will get all fouled up, but you need to be able to bounce back. The agility is important. This story somehow makes the grasshopper the villain. It's the ant that's saving for winter. The grasshopper is playing the violin during summer, but when winter comes, the grasshopper dies because it doesn't have any food. But the truth is, the ant has no memory, has no planning for the future and all that. The ant, it loves order. It wants clarity. It wants certainty. அவ்வளவுதான். It is not planning. All it wants is, if there are, for example, there are 3 monitors here, they are not in line. எனக்கு உறுத்திக்கிட்டு இருக்கு. It needs to be all lined up. That's all. If you start with such a fundamental aim for clarity and certainty, it has to happen. The next one has to happen. அப்படிங்கிற அந்த short steps, the long marathon will automatically fall in place அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க. And it need not always be written down. You need not have a book of a code book. Many people ask me at Zoho, what's the in time, what's the out time, what's the dress code அப்படினா சொல்வாங்க. We have a rule called grandma rule. Can I post this in Twitter? Can I post like this அப்படினா கேட்பாங்க. எல்லாத்துக்கும் நாங்க ரூல் புக் கொடுத்துட்டு இருக்க முடியாதுப்பா, அப்புறம் இவ்வளோ தடி ஆயிடும், நீ படிக்கவும் மாட்டேன் அவ்வளோ பெரிய புக்கு. ஸோ வாட் வி ஹேவ் இஸ் அ கிராண்ட்மா ரூல். இந்த மாதிரி பண்ணேன் பாட்டி அப்படின்னு பெருமையா போய் உங்க பாட்டிகிட்ட சொல்வியா? நான் லேட்டா போனேன் பாட்டி, அல்லது இந்த ட்ரெஸ் போட்டுக்கிட்டு இங்கேருந்து கிழிஞ்சு போன ஒரு ஜீன்ஸை போட்டுக்கிட்டு நான் போனேன் பாட்டி, பாட்டியோட நிப்பியா? பாட்டிகிட்ட காட்டுவியா? தட் இஸ் த காமன் சென்ஸ் rule of thumb that we try to institute. It has been working till now quite okay. So set up conventions using common sense, and finally establish accountability. ஒரு விஷயம் பண்ண போறோம்னா 50% chance improves if you are going to tell somebody, sir இத பண்ண போறேன். Because if you want to do something and get away not doing it, don't tell anybody. பண்ணப்புறம் நான் போனேனா பண்ணேன் தெரியுமா அப்படின்னு சொல்லிக்கலாம். But if you are getting into a habit, have an accountability partner அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. That's what the ant does. The grasshopper is alone. The ant is not a single ant, it is a million ants all the time. If an ant strays, the other ants take care. So setting up convention, working as a team is probably the lesson I would learn from this. And finally, implementation. எவ்வளோ வேணா பேசலாம். ஞாபகம் இருக்கா இந்த கதை? எட்டி பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கேன். Who will build the cat அப்படின்னு வரும். நான் வந்து ஜிபிஎஸ் வச்சு இந்த பூனையை எங்க இருக்குன்னு ட்ராக் பண்றதுக்கு ஒரு சார்ட் போட்டிருக்கேன் அப்படின்னு ஒரு பூனை சொல்லும், ஒரு எலி சொல்லும். இன்னொன்று வந்து பூனையோட நகத்துல ஒரு RFID சிப்பை போட்டோம்னா பூனை பக்கத்துல வரும்போது I will be able to alert அப்படின்னு சொல்லும். இந்த மாதிரி hundreds of suggestions will come. அப்பதான் ஒரு கெல்ட் எலி வந்து எல்லாம் நல்லா தான் இருக்கு, but who will bell the cat? யார் இந்த கேட் RFID நகத்துல போய் போட போறாங்க அப்படின்னு கேட்கும். So implementation, an ounce of implementation is probably worth tons of loose talk. பேச்செல்லாம் போறோம், வேலையை பண்ணி காட்டு அப்படின்னு. So the first probably suggestion if you want to implement something is, don't have too many options, because the more options you have, the more diverted, distracted you are going to be. Steve Jobs சொல்லுவார், ஆப்பிள் ப்ராடக்ட்ஸ் நாங்க ஒன்னொன்னு லான்ச் பண்ணும்போது, you know what, before we said yes to this design, we said 1,000 no's. 1000 dead bodies இருக்குப்பாங்க. Apple products which were half made, quarter made, nearly fully made, which never came out into the open. 1,000 dead bodies. அதெல்லாம் தாண்டி பொழைச்சு வந்த ப்ராடக்ட்டை நீங்க பாக்குறீங்க, செலிப்ரேட் பண்றீங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவார். So limiting the options is probably very important. And ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டோம் அப்படின்னா, do not obsess too much about what should I do, which way should I go. Do not stop it halfway. ஆரம்பித்ததை முடிக்க கற்றுக்கொள். And finally, பகவத் கீதாவோட லெசனே நினைச்சுக்கலாம், you love the process, love the journey. You will either win or you will learn. இது ரெண்டும் ஏதாவது ஒன்று நடந்துரும். இந்தியா ODI T20 தோக்கிற ஒவ்வொரு தடவையும் நான் தான் நினைப்பேன், ஓகே எல்லாரும் டீம் ரூம்குள்ள போயிருப்பாங்க, ஒருத்தன் இன்னொருத்தனை பிளேம் பண்ணுவான், டீம் மேனேஜர் நல்லா திட்டு போட போறாரு, என்னமாவது கத்துப்பாங்கப்பா, அடுத்த மேட்ச் ஜெயிப்பாங்கப்பா அப்படிங்கிற ஃபீலிங் தான் நம்மளுக்கு வரணும். Detach yourself from the outcome, obsess about the process, enjoy the journey, all the interesting people you meet, all the interesting experiments and adventures you go on, and the experiences you get. That's the only thing that differentiates each one of us. எல்லாரும் பிறக்கிறோம், எல்லாரும் சாவ போறோம். But what are your experiences? What are your unforgettable, unique takeaways that you have from this life that you're going to use to leave behind as a legacy to the next generation? So we have 12 stories. You can either use this book, but I would recommend that book. Thanks a lot.